guys, welcome back. My name is Stephanie. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm back home in my kitchen today for a couple weeks anyway, and then I'll be gone again. But today I'm going to, I think it's probably going to be a two-part video. I'm planning on doing some canning this weekend, so I'm going to try to bring you guys along for that. The dishwasher's running right now, so I hope that's not too loud for everybody. But I wanted to talk about some dehydrating today, and I thought I'd show you all what I bought and some of the other things that I have dehydrated and how I use those. So the first thing is, you guys know about the bell peppers. We've used those in several things. I'm going to dehydrate some bell peppers here shortly. This is a jar of just mixed vegetables. These were frozen mixed vegetables that I bought from the grocery and put those in the dehydrator. These will be great to have to throw in for soups. I can actually powder this too and make a vegetable powder if we want to do that. But these are good just to have, throw in a casserole, throw in a soup, whatever. You've just got some easy vegetables on hand. Same with these. These are diced potatoes. These were also I bought at the grocery store some diced frozen potatoes and dehydrated those. The benefit to doing the frozen potatoes is that I don't have to, I don't have to blanch my potatoes. I don't have to treat them in any way. If I just dehydrated potatoes that I bought and cut up, or that I grew and I just cut them up, they're going to turn brown. They're going to discolor, not brown, kind of gray, very unappetizing looking. But with these, that's already taken care of. So we have potatoes, and I think these are going to be nice for breakfast casseroles. I haven't really done anything with these yet. I just wanted to have them. Another thing that I've done that I haven't really done anything with, but I dehydrated these carrots. Again, a frozen bag of carrots. I didn't have to blanch them. I didn't have to do anything with them. I just threw these in the dehydrator. Our dogs like them for snacks. We'll throw them to them sometimes if they want a little crunchy snack. But again, just something that I've done. I've dehydrated. This was one whole bag of frozen carrots. But yeah, so again, just something to have handy. You all are familiar with my spinach powder. We've used this several times, and I'll continue to use this. I also have some kale powder that I dehydrated. I'm actually going to end up mixing it with the spinach powder and just have green powder to go into things. And plus, that's one less jar I have to keep up with. I will absolutely be making more of this. This is dehydrated tomato powder. Last year, this is what got me into dehydrating again. I say again, I did it a little bit before, but never to this extent. But these were just cherry tomatoes that were running out our ears. If you have a garden, if you grow cherry tomatoes, you know that after a certain point, you can't do anything more with them. You don't need any more to eat. You can throw them in if you're making a tomato sauce, but I dehydrated these and then I put them in the blender and made tomato powder. You can use this to thicken soups. You can use it to flavor soups, sauces, anything. And I've been using it almost like in place of a tomato paste. It's worked really well. I can't wait to have more of this. I do have an oxygen absorber in there. I have some that I actually ended up ordering for this purpose. This is just one I had kicking around and I stuck it in there. But tomato powder has been phenomenal, and I'm very excited to do some more of this summer and have more tomato powder around. What we are going to do today is I bought a box of peppers that, I don't know if you can tell on here. You can kind of see there's some wrinkles. Like, they're not bad, but they need to be used up. So I'm going to give them a second life as dehydrated. There's, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 in here. There's orange, yellow, some real pretty red ones. I'm going to get these washed up and I'm going to chop them up. I'll bring you guys back once I have the dehydrator set up here and we can start getting these in there. And then I'll also show you what they look like once they're done and how we have to treat those before we're ready to move on and actually store them in the pantry. There is one step after you dehydrate that we have to do. It's important though. You don't want to lose all your hard work. So I'm going to get these washed up and I'll bring you back once we're ready to go. I wanted to just show you guys about the size that I'm going to do on these. This seems to work best for me. Don't throw away this part. Keep that part. Cut that up because that's going to dehydrate just fine. I try to use as much of this pepper as I can. Even this end piece here. This is all that's going in my compost bowl. So this is about the size we're doing these. Maybe a 1/2 inch dice on these. And it doesn't have to be perfect or precise. Now, if you're doing like I did and I bought these that were marked down because they were needing to be used or gotten rid of soon, just be careful because the skins are, they're not the firmest. Your knife can slip. Use a really good knife when you're doing this. When these are a little wrinkly like this, I don't like to cut on this smooth side because I feel like my knife slides around quite a bit more. So spin that over to the rougher side. And like I said, just make sure you're using a good sharp knife when you're doing this. So I'm going to sit here and just finish chopping. I have 12 peppers. I counted them. There were 12 here. So I'm going to get these all diced up and then we'll start getting them on the dehydrator. So I got all of our peppers chopped up and this is what we got out of that. This is an 8-cup measure and we're well above that, so there's probably 9, maybe 10 cups here and another 3 cups here. I'm gonna get the dehydrator set up. I think that this will fill the dehydrator. If it doesn't, I do have another bag of mixed vegetables that I'll throw in there just because we might as well fill the whole thing up on this. So we're gonna get the dehydrator set up and we'll bring you back when we've got that ready. I did want to show you all, I'll show you the whole dehydrator once it's set up, but right now I do have these little mesh silicone tray covers in here. It just helps it from falling through. When as they dehydrate, they can fall through these little cracks. It just keeps that from happening. I actually think we're going to have more than enough to fill up this dehydrator right now. I've already got the 3rd tray on here. And I've just now gotten into the big bowl of peppers. So I'm going to put these on here kind of closer together than I normally would just because I want to try to utilize as much of this space as possible. Let's get this filled up here. Our dehydrator is plumb full. Oh look, I don't know if you guys can see that. I got pepper juice literally all over the side of that thing. I have about 1.5 cups of peppers left that didn't quite fit in there. So I'm going to try to put these in the freezer just like this for a few minutes and let them freeze. And then I'm just going to put them in a food saver bag and keep those in the freezer. So those will be ready to go when I need them. We are ready with the dehydrator. Ooh, hello. So I'm going to get the lid on this and get it plugged in and I'll show you what it looks like and hopefully you can hear what it sounds like while we've got everything going in there. I've got the dehydrator all set up and going now. I have it set on 135 degrees. This one is really nice because it's got this guide up at the top to tell you what setting to have it on. This is a Nesco. It's a Snack Master or a Snack Master Pro or something like that. I can link this down in the comments. I just got it on Amazon, but so far I've been super happy with it, with everything that we've done. People also ask how long does it take to dehydrate. The best answer is it takes as long as it takes. On these peppers I expect it's going to take, I don't know. We're going to check it. I'm going to let it go all night. We'll check it in the morning. It's kind of humid right now, so that affects it. There's just more moisture in the air. And it just takes a little longer. So you just let these go until you let them go. Herbs that I've done, maybe 8 hours, if that long. And then I've had some things like apples and oranges that have had to go for 24 or longer. So it's one of those things that's just, you just have to check in and see how it looks. I will show you these once they're ready to come out of the dehydrator and we're ready to start the next step, which is conditioning. It's super easy, but it is a process, a step that you don't want to skip. And I'll show you what it looks like when these are done. Wanted to show you all what these peppers look like once they're dehydrated. You know how full these tops were. And you can see They're all shriveled up. You know that they're done once they've cooled and they're crunchy. Well, that one's not going to break for me. There, the snap. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. These went a little long. These actually went close to 24 hours because no one was home today to turn them off. It's no big deal. It just means they're extra done. I'm going to get these jarred up into, this is a quart mason jar. I'm going to get them put in here, and we are going to let that sit for about a week. And I'll bring you back, show you how much volume our peppers reduce down to once they've been dehydrated. So this is it. This is all those peppers that we dehydrated in this one jar. This is, it's maybe about 3 cups altogether. Yeah, these are 4-cup jars. So anyway, what we're going to do now is condition these. Now, because these cooked first or dehydrated for so long, it's not as big of an issue for us, but we're still going to do the process. That is, I'm going to leave these out, and I'm just going to kind of shake this jar once a day. Make sure that there's no condensation building up. There's nothing that's getting sticky or tacky. And then they're going to be ready to go on the shelf to throw into dishes while we're cooking. If you guys like that, or if you have questions on other foods that we can do, I'm sure we're going to be dehydrating more stuff together. But let me know what you think. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephanie. Thanks again for hanging out in the kitchen with us. Today we are doing something brand new even for me. We are going to be canning meals in a jar. These recipes are from the Ball Canning and Preserving book. I'll link that down below. I decided last week that I wanted to do this, and I didn't have time to get the physical book. I just bought it on my Kindle, but it's absolutely available for purchase. I'm going to get the paperback so that I have it, because the Kindle's still a little tough to kind of see those recipes, and if I want to make any notes, obviously it's a little tougher to do on that Kindle. So I did write the recipes out, but it's that time of year where things are picking up. We're all staying busier. Kids are in sports, we're enjoying time outside in the garden or whatever. It's just busier this time of year. So these are going to give us a few meals that are going to be ready to go in a jar and ready to pull out. We're going to do this in a quart size, so it'll feed maybe 4 people if you have little kids, is my best guess on these. First one that we're going to do is chicken and gravy. I'm actually going to double that. I'm going to make 4 quart jars on this one. Now my canner won't hold enough for me to process all 8 jars that I wanted to do today, but that's fine. I can can 1 jar later, or I have some other stuff I need to can too, so it's no big deal. So the first one's going to be our chicken and gravy. I've tweaked that recipe just a little bit, and I'll tell you guys what I've done there. This is we're not canning gravy, but it's something that once we're ready to eat it, you'll just add some flour, thicken it up, and it's going to make a great meal. The other one is pot roast in a jar. That's just ground beef and a pot roast and your normal vegetables. Again, when you're ready to eat this, just thicken it up with a little flour and you're good to go. The third one that we're going to do, and this one also makes 2 quart jars, this is beef stroganoff. This one, I don't think, when you're ready to serve it, I don't think you have to whisk it with whisk any rice. And on this one, I think it's good to go. You just want to cook like some egg noodles, stir in a little bit of sour cream at the end, and you're going to be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I need to get some chicken and beef chopped up. I have all the vegetables done. I'll bring you guys back once we're ready to start jarring these up. My jars, I have put those in the dishwasher on the quick cycle, so they're clean, they're warm, they're staying warm until I'm ready to use them. Also on this stove, I have some beef broth. That is store-bought because I don't make beef broth. We don't go through that many beef products that have bones in it, so it's no big deal. I also have some home canned chicken broth on the stove. Those are warming up, and we will top these recipes with that broth. So give us just a second and we'll be back once I have this meat all ready to go. Alright guys, so we're back. I've got everything ready to go here. As I was chopping the vegetables, I tried to put them by recipe in individual little boxes, or bowls. And this is when you find out that you don't have bowls that are all the same. So that's been fun. I'm going to do 4 jars of this. This is our chicken and gravy. It's going to be 2 pounds of chicken. Got that here cut up into 2-inch cubes. It called for 2 cups of celery because I'm doubling this. It called for 2 cups of celery. I don't care for that much celery. So I did a cup of celery and a cup of onions. You can tweak these recipes a little bit to make it what you and your family like. We're going to do 2 cups of onions, 2 cups of potatoes, 4 teaspoons salt. When you're canning, don't use salt with iodine. We're going to be using a pink Himalayan salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 4 teaspoons of poultry seasoning, which I don't have. So I'm going to use probably 3 parts Italian seasoning and 1 part ground sage. I've got that set out here. A half a cup of dry white wine, which I don't usually drink, so I went to the liquor store yesterday and I bought the cheapest stuff I could find. But I bought a bottle of red because we need it for the pot roast. And I have a pot roast in the crock pot right now, so I put some of that in there. And it smells really good. If you like dry wine, it's Gato Negro. And that one was a Merlot. I have a Sauvignon Blanc for this. It doesn't smell bad. I mean, I'm not a dry white wine or a dry wine drinker. Why can't I say that? I promise I haven't been in it yet. But anyway, if you like dry wine, it was like on sale for $5 a bottle. So that was right up my alley. Then we're going to top it all off with hot broth. So we are going to start. Now look, the recipe said to put it all in a bowl, mix it up, and then just divvy it up. My brain does not allow me to do that because I need a little more structure and guarantee that things are evenly dispersed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this while I get the chicken in and then go wash my hands, come back, and I'll take you guys through adding everything else, okay? Alright, so there's nothing better than just sticking your hands in some raw chicken, right? Oh, it's gross. But we got the jars all pretty even with our chicken. I think this one probably has a little more than this one, but I'm going to roll with it. It's going to be fine. Next up, we're going to start getting these veggies in. I did go ahead and drain these potatoes. When I cooked those, I just put them in some cool water so they wouldn't discolor. I'm going to put a half a cup of celery into each jar. This funnel, it belonged to my grandma. I love it. I have an actual canning funnel somewhere, but beats me where it is. So I was real glad that Grams was helping me out here. And plus, I always like getting to use her stuff when I'm doing a project like this. Like I said, I don't really care for celery. I also cut this up pretty small so that I wouldn't taste it. That's not for me. We also are going to do a 1/4 cup of carrots in each bowl or jar. And again, I sliced these small enough that I'd be able to get a little bit of carrot flavor in there. I do think that carrot is a good like base flavor. I'm so sorry if you guys can hear the dogs. They are just running around having the best time outside right now. Oh, throwing a carrot in the floor. Lola's inside. Lola's not about that outside life. So she will likely grab this carrot that fell. Alright. Next, we have 2 cups of onions. So we are going to go a half a cup of onion in each jar. These I was able to just do a real rough chop on. I may not enjoy celery, but I do love onion. I don't really like raw onion. I don't want like raw onion on a burger or anything, but I really love cooked onions. It's such a good taste. Using this funnel, it's not necessary, like you don't have to do it, but it does kind of just keep these clean, the rims clean. With something like this, it's more important when you're doing the chicken or anything that's going to be a little bit greasy on there. And same thing on potatoes. We're going to do half a cup of potatoes in each one. I did the potatoes, I kept them a little bit big so that they would still kind of hold their shape. When you're using a pressure canner, if you use your Instant Pot, or if you're familiar with an Instant Pot, you are basically, when you're doing a pressure canner like this, you're basically turning each jar into a tiny Instant Pot. Each little jar is its own pressure cooker. So you don't want these to really turn to mush. I'm going to just finish using up the rest of these. I was reading the measurements for the wine. I need 2 tablespoons for a jar. Let me grab a tablespoon measurer. Before I go in with the wine, I'm going to get the seasoning. I kind of just bypassed that and went straight to wine, which is the way my brain works. Like I said, I'm using just a Himalayan pink salt that I have. I actually buy this at the Dollar Tree because it's cheaper there than anywhere else. We're going to go 1 teaspoon in each jar. Then we're going to go a half teaspoon of pepper per jar. I don't think the the scoop has ever been opened on this jar of pepper. Alright, sorry about that. So yeah, half teaspoon of black pepper per jar. A teaspoon of poultry seasoning. So like I said, I don't have poultry seasoning. Or I'm sorry, 4 teaspoons of poultry seasoning. So 1 teaspoon for each jar. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go like a mostly full teaspoon of just Italian seasonings. You can't go wrong with Italian seasonings. We all agree on that, right? Like, it's just the best. If you're going to use a blend and you're in a pinch, just use this blend. Okay. And I am going to go in, I'm going to use this. I have an 1/8 of a teaspoon measure on here, and I'm going to go in with just an 1/8 of a teaspoon of sage in this, just to give it that poultry flavor, poultry seasoning flavor. That container hadn't been opened either. I said earlier that my canner wasn't big enough to hold 8 jars, but I have plenty of chicken left over and plenty of these vegetables. So I think what I'll do is after I get these jars processed, I'll just make up another thing of this chicken, and then I'll have that to go on, and I can do 2 jars. You don't want to can just 1 jar by itself. You need at least 2 in your canner, but I might find something, maybe some beans or something to go in there. All right, so we're back to the wine now. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons per jar. You know it's the good stuff when it's got the screw top, which this does. This is Gato Negro Sauvignon Blanc. It smells good. It smells like nice white wine. I have a garbage palate for wine. I want it to taste like juice, and that's it. Ooh, that one got a little away from me there. That's okay. Oh my stars, did y'all see that? That went everywhere. Let's go. I'm just getting real crazy and out of control here. it smells like wine up in here now. Next thing we're going to add is hot broth. We are going to add broth to 1 inch of headspace. Now, there is a very cool tool that you can get to show you where 1 inch of headspace is. I don't own that tool because that would make too much sense. I didn't understand why I needed it when I was buying canning supplies. Now that I've learned more, I understand why, but I'm making do without it. So what you can do is I just have a ruler from the American Dairy Association of Kentucky. Again, I don't know where these things come from. And you just measure where 1 inch is. For me, it's on the bottom line of this glass jar. So we're going to add broth up to that point. This is also hot broth. These jars are still warm, and we're going to add this hot broth to it. I actually am going to have to open another jar of broth and get this going. Let me get that other jar of broth heated up, and we'll come back. I'm going to top these all off, and then we're going to debubble. I'll show you what that is and how easy it is. And we're almost ready to get these in the canner, I promise. While that other broth is heating up, I thought I would tell you guys a little bit about the canner that I'm using. This is a Presto 23 quart canner. It's a good size pot. It is going to do 7 quart jars or 16 pint jars. If you're doing pint jars, you can stack them one on top of the other. Pressure canning can be kind of scary, and I checked into it a lot. I did a little bit of research. Well, I did a lot of research before I felt comfortable taking the plunge, but last year I really wanted to get better about preserving more of our garden. I felt like we just let so many words are hard today. I felt like we let so many tomatoes and zucchini and all this stuff go to waste. Now, a lot of those can be water bath canned, and I don't do as much of that as I have been doing pressure canning. But there are a few things that you can do with your pressure canning to make sure that it's safe. The one that I use has a weighted, or has a gauge on it. You'll put a weight on here. You'll see that. I'll show it to you. And you watch this pressure gauge. Your book will tell you for your elevation and what you're canning, what your weight needs to be at and be maintained. Another thing that we always want to check is that this seal is in good condition. It's where it's supposed to be. You don't see any cracks or anything that could cause this seal to fail. That's where you're going to end up having serious injuries or serious accidents. We also want to check through this little vent pipe here. I've seen people kind of blow in it. Some people just kind of look through it. Make sure that you can see through it. Make sure that air blows through it. And you should be safe doing this. I've not had any issues as far as where I felt like safety was a concern. My problem that I continually have to work on is patience. And I'm sure that if you guys know me, you'll find that so hard to believe, but I'm not patient at the end. When you do have to go step by step, you have to let it come all the way down from pressure. And then you take the weight off, and then you wait 5 minutes, and then you crack the lid, and then you wait 5 minutes, and then you open the lid, and then you wait 5 minutes, and then you take the lid off, and then you wait, and then you get the jars out, and then you have to wait even longer. So that's where I tend to try to rush things, and it's not safe. I do have to make myself stop, slow down, and follow those rules that are safe. I think my broth should be getting warm enough for me to finish ladling it in these jars. And let's get this chicken wrapped up. I'm ready to move on to the pot roast and the beef stroganoff. All right, so we're back. I got a couple of these jars topped off. I'm gonna add a little bit more to this one and top this last one off. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is debubbling, and that is where you want to use a wooden or a plastic tool and just go in here and get out any air pockets that might be hiding. When we've got this under pressure, we don't want any air bubbles in here. Now as you do this, your water level may go down a little bit just as you're getting this extra air out. You want to go around the edges. Don't want to use something metal for this. I didn't realize that at first, and I was just in there with a butter knife going to town. I was lucky. I didn't really have any issues with it, but now that I know better, I'm trying to just do the right thing. And it doesn't really look like we're losing too much headspace as we go in here and get these out. I do see one I'm going to top off. Maybe a little bit there. Yeah, so that looks good. Let's add just a little bit more to this jar because we lost a little bit of headspace there. And just a teensy bit. Wasn't too bad there. I did have to add a lot more broth than I expected to, but it's okay. That's why we have that broth, to use it. It's not doing anybody any good if it just sits on the shelf. So the next thing that we're going to do is essential to make sure that your jars get a good seal. This is I bought this at the Dollar Tree. Y'all know it's my favorite store. This is just a little pump with vinegar on it. I'm going to run it around these rims. I'm also going to check these rims to make sure I don't feel any nicks or flaws that would cause it not to get a good seal around the edges. The other thing is, like I mentioned earlier, when you're doing something that can be greasy like chicken, I did trim a lot of that fat off, but just chicken itself is kind of gunky. So you don't want anything like that on your rims that could just prevent you from getting a good seal. When we put these lids on, we are going to go, look, y'all, these lids, you can see this says ball and it's got the date on it. And I never worried about it until somebody was like, oh, I like for these all to line up and match. And now my OCD brain, it's like, yo, we want to do that too. So there I am, just trying to line these up. You're going to twist these fingertip tight. That means you go until it stops. You don't crank it down tight. You're not trying to do that. You just want to go until you feel a little resistance, and then you stop. That's going to allow the air to escape. I'm trying to find the front of this jar so I can get my dumb thing on right. That's going to allow the air to escape and that pressure seal to form. Last one. Let's go this way. And sometimes I catch myself. I just crank it down and I have to back it up and then just close it a little easier. I'm going to get these in the canner. I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand so that you all can see me put these jars in. Hang on. So again, we put hot broth into warm jars and we are going to put it in a warm canner. This water is not boiling, but it is simmering. Oh, sorry for the poor view. Just bear with me here. I have 3 quarts of water in the bottom of this canner. I normally will add a splash of vinegar, but my vinegar seems to have disappeared. I think Dad took it outside for his seeds. So I used cream of tartar instead. That just kind of keeps that buildup. You can see I didn't use it the last couple times, so I've got some buildup on the bottom of the pot. It's just no big deal. I'm going to get these 4 jars. Well, I'm going to do 3 of these jars because we are going to do 4 of the beef as well. And then I'll warm this one later. This recipe is our beef pot roast. I've got 1 pound of ground beef, not ground beef, 1 pound of beef. This is actually a roast and like a round steak or something. I had some extra beef that I'd picked up for cheap on sale. So the good thing about doing this in the pressure canner is that you can take a very inexpensive chunk or cut of meat and it's going to come out very tender and very flavorful. We're going to divide a cup of potatoes. I think I did too many potatoes. We're going to do a cup of potatoes, half a cup of celery, cup of carrots, 2 teaspoons of salt. We'll go through all this as we're going. But like I said, I did measure wrong on these potatoes. Just grab my funnel here. So yeah, I did, I think I did 2 cups. I just wasn't paying attention. And I don't know what I was doing. But anyway, it is what it is. Uh-oh. we'll kind of eyeball this, and we will definitely have some potatoes left over. We're gonna do, we've got celery, so it's a 1/2 cup total, so again, a 1/4 cup. I cut this a little bit bigger because it's gonna be in roast. So I did it a little bit bigger chunks than I did for that chicken because I can pick this out, but I do really like the flavor of celery in roast. 1 cup of carrots. You can tell that this funnel isn't doing a ton of help, not being a ton of help, but it's because these are also wide mouth jars. And if you were using a regular mouth jar, that funnel would be very handy. But as I'm using a wide mouth, the funnel is more superfluous than it has to be. All right, a teaspoon of salt. Let's get my measuring spoons back out here. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. Mom has gone outside and left the dachshunds inside without her, and just, you guys, the audacity. Oh, hold on. We're gonna add 1 bay leaf to each jar. Don't forget to take this out when you're done, or when you've processed it. Don't leave those bay leaves in there. You can't eat those. 2 cloves of sliced garlic, and I didn't even cheat and use minced garlic. I actually sliced some garlic in here. 2 teaspoons of thyme. Again, I feel like that was harder than it had to be. We're going to do a 1/2 cup of the red wine. Let me grab that wine real quick. This is that Merlot that I was telling you guys we got. It smells great. Yeah, it smells like it would be delicious if you like dry red wine. Ooh. This is a 1/2 cup per jar. Wanted to double check my notes. And that's it. Our next step is our hot broth. Alright, so we're going to again put some vinegar on the paper towel and just wipe this off. And again, feel for any spots that are chipped or cracked. These are new jars, so hopefully we wouldn't find any cracks, but it could still happen on a new jar too. We're going to get our flats lined up here. And go in at fingertip tight. And we'll get these in the canner. Our last jar meal that we're doing is a beef stroganoff. I forgot to turn the page. This one does call for more meat than the other 2 recipes. This calls for 1 pound in each jar. So we're going to split up 2 pounds of beef. Again, these are cubed up into 2-inch cubes. And I'm going to just divvy this up between the 2 jars. I'm just kind of counting this out as I go here to try to get this even. And there we go. I'm going to get this bowl. Look at this great bowl. It's 8 quarts. My friend Deanna picked it up for me one day. This has been great. I've loved using this today. Let me go get this in the sink, get these hands washed, and then we'll be back to finish the last one up. For this beef stroganoff recipe, there's not a ton of extra that we have to add. I bought the already washed and sliced mushrooms just to make it a little bit easier. You could also use frozen mushrooms. You could use canned mushrooms. When I went to Meijer the other day, I didn't feel like there was a big selection of mushrooms. So we're going to go in a half a cup in each jar. I'm trying to get some of these smaller ones down at the bottom just so I can have that extra volume, or lesser volume. We need our onion. Yeah, we're gonna do a half a cup of sliced onion. I just did these, yeah, just regular old slices, nothing fancy here. We are gonna kind of have to mash this down a little bit. And that's just because these beef chunks were big, so they took up a little more space than you normally would see in the jar like this. Once we add that liquid, everything will kind of have room to settle. I'm going to go ahead and add this garlic just because it's in my hand. Perfect. We need 4 tablespoons of tomato paste, so we're going to put 2 in each jar. I like this Cento tomato paste in it too. The only reason I think I'm kind of saying that right is because there's that couple on TikTok where the guy's Italian and he's always trying American food. And I heard them say Cento on this, so that's the only reason that I'm pretending like I know what I'm doing on this. So we're going to go 2 tablespoons per jar. This stuff is so nice if you don't need to use a whole can, because it just squeezes out so neatly. Hang on, let me adjust this here. I felt like I was squeezing from the middle, and I don't like that. You guys are learning a lot about my neuroses in this video, aren't you? That's fun. And just a little extra, just for good measure. Okay, there's that. All right, what else do we have? We need to go in with a teaspoon of salt. Four tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. What was the other one? Worcestershire. Some Worcestershire sauce. I like that one a lot. So 4 tablespoons, 2 per jar. Let's get that in. I went just a little bit low on there. Boy, I'm making a mess. If it can be dribbled, I'm dribbling it today. This is wild. I think this notebook's probably going to be done for by the time we finish with this. 2 teaspoons of thyme. So 1 per jar. And 2 teaspoons of parsley. I had the parsley out. Let me find it real quick. Parsley. We need 2 teaspoons, so 1 teaspoon per jar. And now broth to fill it up, and then we'll debubble and kind of get this to settle in a little bit better. Get this around here so you can see it. So that liquid got right up to the line on this, and we're going to go in with our debubbler and just try to get the rest of this stuff mashed down here underneath the water line, or the broth line. Liquid line, there's a good word. Liquid. Yeah, that's already looking better. That's perfect. Now, when you get into times like this where it is pretty full and you're kind of having to get creative to mash it down there, that's when you're going to really want to make sure that you clean these rims really, really well. I didn't lose too much as far as headspace, just a little bit. I'll top that off. Let me refill my measuring cup here, and I'll get the broth in here. I'm just going to come in here up to that inch line. And let's get this one debubbled. I think that these will be really nice for those days where, kind of like last week at work or week before last at work, where I was just so slammed and busy and I didn't feel like cooking at all, but I really was just craving something healthy and flavorful, but I just didn't have it in me, and I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to spend money at a restaurant just for me to grab a meal because I was feeling kind of blah. I like to go out to restaurants and enjoy myself, not just because I'm on the verge of a breakdown. But sometimes that's what we do too. It's okay. There's no judgment. We all do what's right for us. I'm going to add just a smidge of water more, or broth, to these to top these up. We're going to get the rims clean and the lids on. Alright, so again, just a smidge of water in both of these. Not water, it's broth. I don't know why I'm doing that. And yeah, these look really good. I think this will be nice. The recipe for this one said to stir it in with, stir in like a good spoon of sour cream into it. And I think that'll be fantastic. These mushrooms that I have left over, I'm going to dump those into the crock pot for the roast that I have in there for us now. I've lost my paper towel, so no worries. Like I said, I was just a little messier with these than we were the others, so I want to make sure I do as much as I can to prevent failure. And we're going in with the lids and the ring. I'm sure you guys really enjoyed that big shot of my arm. Let's do it with this hand. I'm going to get these last 2 jars in the canner. Thank goodness. I feel like this has taken forever, and it really hasn't. But we've got 7 meals in the canner ready to go, so that is awesome. Let's get these in here, and I'll show you what the next step's going to be. So we've got our canner loaded up with 7 jars. The jar that I have left over is just sitting over here on the counter. I think I'm going to make up one more of that chicken to go in there, and I will... I'll just start that canner load with cold water and bring it up to temperature that way. That way, it won't hurt this one to cool off. You don't want to start cold food in a hot canner. That's just the only thing. You want to make sure that the temperature that you're canning at is the same temperature as the liquid in your jars. So anyway, our next step is going to be for this little vent here to release a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes straight. That 10 minutes is going to allow that air to evacuate this canner, and that's when we'll add the weight, and our gauge will start going up. That's going to start pressurizing. We'll come back when we're at that steady stream of steam. I don't know if it's showing up for you guys, but we do have a steady stream of steam coming out of this canner. I've got the timer set for 10 minutes. I did want to show you, I think that I didn't have enough chicken in the jars that I did. It's not going to hurt anything, but what I think I'll do is the ones that are in the canner now, I will label those as a chicken soup base, and then this will be chicken and gravy. I actually opened this one and I added more chicken to it, and then that second jar that I needed to use, I actually used a lot of the leftover vegetables that we had from earlier, so it worked out great. I'm going to get this topped off and debubbled, and then I'll put these in the fridge. Before I get ready to can them, I'll bring them out and let them come up to room temperature before I put them in room temperature water to can. All right, so we have had our timer go off. It has been venting for 10 minutes. I'm going to put this regulator on here, and that's going to cause this pressure gauge. Let me try to get this so that you all can see it. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I just touched that hot pot. We're going to let this start building pressure. We're going to look for the pressure to go up to 11 pounds for our, for our elevation. We're going to go up to 11 pounds of pressure. Once it reaches 11 pounds, we are going to let it go for an hour and a half, and we have to maintain at least 11 pounds of pressure. It doesn't matter if it goes above that. You don't want it to go crazy, but if it goes above that, it's totally fine. We're going to keep it at 11 pounds for an hour and a half. We are back. This is processed for an hour and a half. I've got the burner turned off, and we're going to wait for this to come down to pressure, or down to 0 pressure. You can see that that is sitting around about 12 pounds when we turned it off, and that's fine. It got up a little bit high in a couple places. I have trouble regulating it right at 11 pounds of pressure, but so now our next step is we're going to wait, let this pressure dial come down to 0. I'll remove that weighted gauge there, loosen the lid, and start easing this off. I was going to process the other 2 jars tonight, but it's already almost 7 o'clock, and it does have to go for an hour and a half, plus all the time that you wait on it. So I'm going to wait to do those, but I will show you these 7 jars once I get those out. Okay, so this is it. This is our finished product. We have 2 of the pot roast. We have 3 of, I'm going to call these a chicken soup base. Because like I said, I don't think I put enough chicken in those for it to be chicken and gravy. But regardless, it's going to be great. And then this is the Salisbury steak. Sorry, this last one is the beef stroganoff. So what we're going to do is just let these sit overnight. Tomorrow, once they've all sealed and they're ready to go, I'm going to give them a wash. Take these rings off, because you don't store them with the rings. That can promote a false seal where your food's not actually sealed and safe to eat if you leave those rings on. So we're going to take those off once we wash them, and we'll have these on our pantry shelf, and that's going to be 7 great shelf-stable meals for us. And again, I still have those last 2 to do as well, so that's going to be 9, almost 10 meals that we don't have to thaw out meat or remember what we have to get prepared for. These are going to be ready with just a couple extra ingredients. So thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you have any ideas of things we should try, let me know that as well. Have a good night.